Welcome back, fans of the GBA. My name is Arahpthos,
And I am Electric Storm 252.
and we hope to remedy your snail infestation by bringing you the GBA's saltiest show, Big Deal or No Big Deal, where we talk about different moments of hacks throughout the week and determine if they were instrumental in a game or if they were no big deal.
As there is no housekeeping needed to do before any of the discussion on the matches starts, let's just get right into the first one. In the match between the Milwaukee Bewares versus the Florida Gators, we have a fair amount of hacks in the ending turns of the battle. This begins with Wolf's Conqueror getting a crit drain punch against Gators' Buzzwole, allowing his Xurkitree to kill it the following turn with a Dazzling Gleam. After this, the balance shifts, with Gators' Mamoswine getting a crit Ice Shard, guaranteeing the kill on the Xurkitree, winning the match.
Wolf's Conqueror had gotten a bulk up off a couple of turns before the critical hit happened, so a +1 drain punch from Wolf's Conqueror to Gator's Buzzwole would have taken 38 to 45 of Buzzwole's 182 HP, or 28.8 to 24%. When Buzzwole used Leech Life on Silvally a few turns later, it recovered 52 HP, or 28.2%. Now, had Buzzwole not taken the critical hit, it would have been full health after the Leech Life recovery. However, instead it was left at 168 or 92%. Now, Wolf's Xurkitree, like the Dazzling Gleam, it had a damage roll of 83.5 to 98.9%, meaning that Gator's Buzzwole was within range of within KO range of the Dazzling Gleam due to Conqueror's critical hit drain punch, which eventually gave Wolf an opening to win the game.
This chance that Wolf was given was only a chance, as the Ice Shard does 56 to 55 HP or 24.2 to 28.9%, with the Xurkitree being at 52 or 27.4%, meaning that either Mamo takes out the Xurkitree with an Ice Shard or Xurkitree lives, taking the Mamo out in 2 turns with an Energy Ball. All in all, the crit drain punch brought Wolf back into the match, 62.5% back into the match to be exact. However, the Shard crit sealed the game in the Gators' favour. Although the critical drain punch put Gator in a position where he could have lost it, it ultimately didn't end up having a large effect, so that one is no big deal. However, the critical hit Ice Shard is a lot more ambiguous. Had the critical hit not happened, there was still a 37.5% chance for Gator to have won the match, which falls out of our usual 30% tolerance for hacks, meaning that this one may or may not have been a big deal.
Moving on to our second match, we once again would like to feature a match with Cybertron and the Melbourne Rotoms. Sticking to the same theme this week, this Haxie moment contains a Hurricane confusing a Pokemon and it immediately hitting itself in confusion. However, this week, Aaron has transformed from victim to assailant when he's pale up a Hurricane Joey of the Bronx Beartic's Necrozma, stopping it from setting up a Rock Polish. This meant that the Rotoms Mega Swampert and Ludicolo were able to combine their efforts and take out Necrozma and Zygarde, winning the Melbourne Rotoms the game.
Necrozma, if gotten up a Rock Polish, would be able to one-shot the rest of Aaron's team, meaning that he would have to have relied on Mimikyu if he wanted a chance at victory. Shadow Sneak from a Jolly Life Orb Mimikyu would only do 23 to 26.9% or 47 to 55 HP based on the attack value that we are guesstimating that Mimikyu has, as we are not entirely sure. And as Photon Geyser goes through disguise and does over 100% consistency based on the HP value we saw, he too would have died.
So since Necrozma hit itself in confusion, it was unable to set up a Rock Polish and sweep through the rest of Aaron's team, thus making this bit of hacks a big deal.
One hacks we would briefly like to go over is the special attack drop on the Kyurem during the match between the Borussia Donphan and the Kansas City Jura Chiefs. To set the stage, Venusaur went for a Nature Power in Misty Terrain on the incoming Kyurem, which hits it with a Moonblast and gets a special attack drop in the process. Jolt knows the Venusaur can live any hit from the Kyurem and stays in to kill it with a second Moonblast. If the drop didn't happen, Kyurem would have survived at least one more turn, getting off a hit on something or killing the Venusaur. As you can see, this rapidly approaches Theriumon territory with only haphazard guesses being able to be discussed. The goal of the show is to take an objective look at hacks to uncover how pivotal it is to each match. As we cannot do this for this specific instance, we have decided it would be best if we didn't discuss it.
Now, before we jump into the last segment of the video, we'd like to address some criticism over last week's episode. A lot of people did comment about how they thought the statistics we used were not reflective of each player's luck throughout the week. To those people, you're absolutely right. We never really intended it to be reflective of their luck in the sense of their probability of hacks per attack, but more of just like the way to total the hacks that they did get without the context of turns that they didn't get hacks. This was a communication error on our part, magnified by the fact that we referred to the segment as the luckiest player of the week. To rectify this, we will be referring to the players with the large hacks count as the hacksiest players of the week in order to avoid confusion. And we'll also not be listing the percentage totals, as that really muddies the water on what we're trying to do with this segment.
With that disclaimer stuff out of the way, it is time that we get into the top 3 hacksiest players of the week. At number 3 we have the Montreal Habsols, who in the middle of the match managed to dodge a toxic from the Greninja. However, the Greninja in turn dodges a Dragon Tail from the Melodic, so it would say that this is not that lucky of a turn. However, later on near the end, Asta manages to get a critical hit attack rise medium mash on the Tapu Bulu, and this is why he is the number 3 hacksiest player of the week.
Coming in hot at our number 2 slot, we have Mono Tui and the Tampa Bay Luxrays. Now, Mono decided to begin his game turn 1 by going for a Scald with his Slowking, burning the Cresselia on the turn it switched in. Turn 2 wasn't looking too hacks free for Mono either, when he switched in his Registeel and dodged a Toxic from the Cresselia. That's right, even though Registeel is a Steel type and would not be affected by the Toxic, it still decided to get out of the way of it. The hacks didn't stop for Mono there when his Snorlax in the late game managed to get a Body Slam Paralysis onto the Paloswine, and combining these 3 moments of hacks together, we have Mono Tui in our number 2 slot.
Before we get into number 1, I would like to mention the San Jose Sharpedos and the Bronx Beartick, both of whom didn't score any hacks in their games, and as such they can be classified as the least hackiest players of the week. However, let's go to number 1, in which we have the Borussia Donphan, who, after getting a special attack drop with a Moonblast, managed to get a special attack drop with their own Moonblast, and managed to add a little spice to it by getting a crit. Later on in the match, Lars managed to get a critical hit close combat onto the Gardevoir, and that is why he is the number 1 hackiest player. This concludes week 2 of Big Deal or Mo Big Deal. Do you think the hacks in the Gator Beware match was a big deal? Or perhaps you believe we missed an interesting piece of hacks to discuss? Let us know down in the comments and we shall see you next week.